Hello, Paradise Panther artists. My name is Mrs. Telfer, and I'm excited to be with you today to tell you about our next master artist, Edgar Degas. Degas was a French artist who was a master at painting, sculpture, and drawing. He was interested in capturing the grace and beauty of horses and ballet dancers. So let's learn more about this master artist and how he captured moments from unexpected angles. Here we go, artists. Look at these two paintings. One is posed and formal, aiming for balance and perfection, and the other is a casual, unposed, and unbalanced picture. Our artist, Edgar Degas, would like the one on the left that is casual and unposed. He took many ideas from the art of photography, which was new in Degas' time. He liked to paint scenes that looked as if the people in them were unaware they were being watched. So when we see his paintings, we feel as though we just happened to look in at an unexpected moment. Before we peek in on some of those scenes, let's peek in on Edgar Degas and see what he looked like. From this self-portrait by Degas, we can tell that he was not the most friendly, easygoing, or modest person. By the age of 23, Degas had developed a reputation for being difficult and stuck up. He came from a wealthy family in Paris, France, who encouraged him in his art. He started his interest in art by going to the famous art museums of Paris and copying the pictures of the old masters. He devoted his life to art and spent most of his time alone in his studio with his paints and pastels. He was part of a group of artists called the Impressionists, who were changing the art world of Paris with their new ways of painting. Next, let's see Degas' favorite subjects in his artwork. Without using your voice, put your thumb up or down if you like horses. Thank you. You can put your hands away now. Edgar Degas loved horses and going to the racetrack. Let's see what part of horse racing he really liked. I wonder if we will see a painting of the finish line and the winning horse and jockey. Let's find out. First, Degas went with his sketchbook and drew the riders and the horses in action. He was very good at showing the action of horse racing. He wasn't interested in who won the races, but he loved to sketch the animals and the riders in all kinds of activity. Then he took his sketches home to his art studio, and there he worked on his paintings. Degas made the horse's legs bent in this painting to show movement. This is an unposed painting because we see the horses and the riders moving casually about in the scene. Degas liked to go to the horse races with his friends, but not to watch who wins the races. Photographers always take a careful look at how things in a picture are put together. So let's look carefully at this painting called The Jockeys. Here we see that some of the horses and the jockeys are in front of the others. That's right, they are overlapping each other. Overlapping is one way to make a painting have a sense of space. Now, I want you to picture a fast horse race, and then a ballerina twirling on her toes. I wonder why Degas was interested in both horse races and ballerinas. You might be thinking, what do they have in common? Well, they both show movement. That's one of the reasons why horse racing and ballet were Degas' favorite things to paint. Let's see if our next artwork shows movement. This kind of artwork is called a sculpture. In order to paint ballerinas the best he could, Degas studied the ballerina from all angles while they danced. After he watched and sketched them many times, he made a sculpture of a ballerina, so he could look at it in his studio while he painted. This sculpture was made by Degas for studying only. He never intended it to be displayed as a work of art. It is a very small sculpture, only about 3 feet high. Today, it is Degas' most famous piece of sculpture. His model's name was Marie, a 14-year-old girl from a poor family who auditioned and made it into the Paris Ballet Company. Degas dressed the sculpture in real clothing. We can tell that even her hair bow is real. Becoming a ballerina at this time was a good way for young girls from poor families to earn a living. The Paris Opera is the oldest ballet company in the world and was founded by the King of France hundreds of years ago. Another reason Degas began sculpting was because his eyesight was failing. That would be a tragic thing to happen to an artist. Sculpture was a better medium for an artist with poor eyesight because he could rely on his sense of touch. Let's go with Degas to the Paris Opera House. He would carry his pencils and sketchbooks and spend all day watching and sketching the ballerinas as they practiced, performed, or even during their lessons. Imagine Degas all dressed up in a fancy suit, climbing this magnificent staircase inside to go behind the scenes to catch the dancers as they nervously prepared to go on stage in a few minutes. Here, the ballerinas are doing a last check of their dance costumes to make sure everything is in place. Then the orchestra begins, and that is the ballerina's cue to enter the stage and start performing. Degas caught it all in his sketches, behind the scene and sitting in the audience as well. Let's return now to see the hard work that ballerinas put in for their stage performances. I want you to think of a title for this painting. Without using your voice, raise a quiet hand if you have a title, and your teacher will call on you. Thank you for those ideas. You can put your hands down now. If you take a careful look at what is happening, you will see how many different things are going on at the same time. The real title of this painting is The Dancing Class. Notice how everyone in the class is thinking of something different and paying very little attention to what the other dancers are doing. It almost seems as if someone snuck in and took a quick photograph of the dancers. Notice how some of the ballerinas are close to the front of the room and some are farther away. When things are far away, they seem smaller, unclear, or blurred. When things are close to us, we can see them more clearly and they seem larger. So Degas made small, unclear ballerinas who look far away. He painted larger, more detailed ballerinas to look close up. If a painting looks deep, we say that it has depth. Here, we can see a ghost ballerina in the mirror. Degas painted the image of two dancers in the small mirror. The girl on the right, with the black ribbon around her neck, is about ready to dance across the floor. The ballerina on the left would be a dancer in the bottom right-hand side of the room. But Degas only painted part of the class, so we don't get to see all of the dancers. But I think it is kind of more fun to see a ghost image in the mirror than even the actual dancer. Degas would take his sketches back to his studio and experiment with placing dancers in several different locations on his canvas. Then he would just paint a room for the dancers from memory. In order to transfer his small sketches to larger canvases, he used grid lines. Artists use these lines to help them create correct space and sizing while painting. You'll be using Degas' method of drawing with grid lines in your classroom art activity. This made Degas quite different from his fellow Impressionist artists. Most Impressionists like to paint outdoors. Degas always painted inside his studio, sometimes from the sketches he made at the racetrack or at the ballet. I want you to look at the composition or the arrangement of this painting. Notice how things are not arranged evenly. This uneven arrangement is called asymmetrical. An evenly arranged painting is called symmetrical, where one thing on the left side is balanced by another thing on the right side. Without using your voice, give me a thumbs up if this arrangement looks symmetrical or balanced, or give me a thumbs down if it looks asymmetrical or not balanced. Yes, this is an asymmetrical arrangement, so your thumb should be down. Thank you. You can put your hands away now. Another way to judge if it is asymmetrical or symmetrical is to cover up one half of the painting and see if the other half looks nearly the same, with the same number of people or objects on each side. Notice the woman and how we only see one of her arms. Degas wanted his paintings to look casual and unplanned, so he cut her off. In art, we call that cropping. I bet the woman was surprised that all of her body was not in his finished painting. As Degas' eyesight became worse, he was forced to give up oil painting and work more with soft chalk pastels and charcoal. Oil paints are good for painting detail, but pastels are not. Degas found that with pastels, he could leave out the details that he could no longer see. The pastels are very different than the oil paintings we have seen because they are blurry, the colors are brighter, and there are fewer details. Look how close to the dancers Degas has brought us instead of looking at them from afar in a deep room. Even their faces are blurred. Let's compare the pastel faces we see here to an oil-painted face. Here we see that the face in the oil painting, titled Woman with Chrysanthemums, is more detailed. It's clearer and sharper. We see the oil painting on the left. By the year 1907, at the age of 73, Degas became blind and had to give up his art. He felt extremely lonely and empty with this void in his life. He would walk the streets of Paris with the help of a cane. But he was still able to enjoy the two passions in his life, just in a different way. At the ballet, he could hear the music and imagine the beautiful dancing he knew so well. And at the racetrack, he could hear the pounding of the horses' hooves and the excited announcements detailing the race. You have done such a good job listening today as we explored Degas' most famous portraits and paintings. He started with scenes from the world of horse racing and then turned his attention to the theater and ballet. In your art activity, you will learn about the drawing secrets of Degas and how he used the grid method. And I will see you next time, Paradise Panther artists. Have a great day.